We are live on Facebook again. Oh, and I wanted to be a minute early. According to my laptop, it was 5:59, but it's now 6 o'clock. Welcome to the MYBC Consulting's Facebook Live, where on Tuesday nights, either 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, or sometimes earlier, I go live with the MYBC Virtual Bookstore Authors Series. And remember what that MYBC stands for? It doesn't stand for My British Columbia. It stands for Move Your Bum Chum. So this is what I'm doing. I'm moving my bum chum, and I am meeting people all over the world that have taken pen to paper or fingers to keyboard or dictation. Some of the authors that I've talked to before have used voice to text and written their books like that. So tonight I am super duper excited to welcome Brigitte L Brown, three-time author, two, shall we say, adults books, one children's book. Who why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your background, Miss Brigitte?
Hello everybody, I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Jazz hands. So my name is Brigitte Brown. I'm currently in Georgia in the United States, and I'm a 20-year veteran of police department. I've done some crazy things with the police department. I had a great time. Did everything from patrol, detective, training officer, instructor, supervisor. So I had a great career. I learned a lot, and I just wanted to write books to share those experiences and that knowledge.
So what are you doing now? What's your career path since then? Because you look far too young, number one, to have spent 28 years in the police force. And now what are you doing now? I love calling your name Brigitte, but I'll call you Bridgette. Bridgette, what are you doing now?
My dad would be proud. So now I'm a high school teacher. I teach a law enforcement or law pathway class to high school students. So it's kind of along the same lines, sharing my police knowledge. I have a wonderful time. I got great kids, and we enjoy, discovering the law and, how it kind of works. So.
Fascinating, because I know when I was in high school 1.5 million years ago, that they offered law, but that whole secondary part, it was all, I think, a bunch of history, and I never took it because it frightened the heck out of me getting into legalese and all the rest of that good stuff. But it sounds like you got a little bit of an outcome that you have with your students or with your course. First of all, how were you able to transition from police officer to did you go back to school to be?
Well, no, when I graduated from college, I went into teaching. And so I taught for 5 years, and then I got into law enforcement. And so kind of full circle, got back into teaching. I was took a job as a resource officer in a high school. And so I did that for a couple of years and hurt my back in a traffic accident. Mm-hmm. And so a job came open for this particular position. And I was like, this is too good to be true. And so I jumped on it. So
what are some of the curriculum topics within your program that you teach?
We talk about, when you start from the introductory course, we talk a lot about life-saving techniques, CPR, how to triage bleeding, just helping people. It's a community emergency response team sort of unit that we do. The second class is geared more towards public safety, law enforcement, and the courts. And so with that class, all of them are really interactive. But with that class, we talk a lot about use of force. We talk a lot about traffic stops, and it's the class is geared towards a career perspective. So it's actually for students who are interested in going into those particular career fields. And then we move into a court section where we have mock trials. We talk about the defense, we talk about the jury, we talk about things like that. And so they get to actually, we have a courtroom in our classroom. And so they actually get to
Wow.
take part in those particular roles. The third class is a forensics class. And so with that class, we learn the science behind criminal investigations as it relates to crime scene processing and things like that. So, you know, it's a full public safety and law plate for them. And by the time they graduate, they have a lot of knowledge and experience in those areas.
Wow, it sounds like a fascinating course to what real. Oh, I'm just like thinking, boy, I wish that course was available when I was in high school, because I probably would have went into that field, because I love the whole, you know, law and order, and I know that's Hollywood, but that whole cause and effect, it's like science, the whole cause and effect, and you have to learn that when I do this, this happens in society, and how I can be either, okay, when this happens, I can step in. So just an absolutely fascinating career that you've had. So let's now get into your books. You've written 3 of them.
Right.
What was the first book that you wrote, and the title of the first book you wrote?
The first book I wrote was The Justice Academy, What You Should Know.
Ooh.
I know it's a mouthful, right?
And now, was that a curriculum book, a reference book? What kind of book was that?
It was kind of, I would say, a reference book. It was just kind of, I wanted people to know about the criminal justice system, not necessarily about when you're arrested, you go to jail, but prior to that, when you meet a police officer, what happens, and those type of things, the lingo, the language, you know, some of the charges that, you know, are kind of what I call catch-all charges. I felt like people should know those things.
Oh, fascinating. And who would be your audience for that book?
Anybody. Anybody anybody would say anybody in America. You know, that because I think knowledge is power. Right. And I think that when you interact with people, you need to know. And I think that's why I went with the second book, the title, The Rules of Engagement, because you need to know the rules when you engage with the police. And so it was kind of like that second book was kind of like a training manual, so to speak. This is how not to get caught by the police. This is what happens when you do get caught by the police. This is, you know, so, you know, it's kind of like that. And I think people, I was so taken aback that people don't really understand that this is information you need until it's too late. And then they say, well, you know, can you help me? No, I'm not an attorney. So.
I know that's what I thought you were. And at the beginning, before we came on, I said, oh, it's one of the things that you're an attorney. And no, I was a police officer. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So if we can go back to the first book just for a little bit, because part of what I like to unpack for people that believe they have a book within themselves, and you had 3 books within you and you poured it out, say from start to putting it on a shelf, from the finished product, how long did it take you? And any pitfalls or successes that were happening along the way of your journey of writing the book?
The concept came probably in 2007, 2008, where it's just like I was interacting with these people in my law enforcement capacity, and they had no idea about the law. They had no idea about the criminal justice system, what it you know, what happens, you know, how to maneuver. And so it was just kind of years past that I would write notes, you know, but I never thought I could write a book, you know. I never even dreamed about that I was going to write a book, but you know, it was just notes that I wanted people to know. And so I think it was 2010. You know, I didn't even know how to write a book. So I had come across Create Space. I think somebody had introduced me to Create Space. And so I got on Create Space and I started playing around. I said, oh, okay, well, you know, I'm going to write a book. And so I did it, and I self-published, and, you know, it went okay. I did a few talks. We have a pretty big festival here, the Decatur Book Festival. I did that festival twice. And so I got kind of a lukewarm response to that book. And then, I kind of got turned off, and I said, no, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. There's more. I got to say more. I got to say more. So I went back to Create Space and did the second book. And so, I think it was a little bit better. It was a little bit better written than the first one. But, it was an experience. It was something I didn't think that I could do, and I did it. I think it's information that people still don't believe that they need until it's too late. And then the third one, is that children's book. And I just got tired of seeing kids accidentally shooting themselves. And so that was the motivation behind that particular book.
And the name of that book?
Brownie Bear Teaches Gun Safety.
And is that Brownie Bear over your shoulder?
Yes. That's
yeah. So this is what fascinates me, is about going from a very, I would, like you said, a reference or a heavier book and knowledge and what your first two books, to now kind of taking a leap down to like the children's level or the child level to educate about the law and justice, and what part they play, as well as, big heavy topic about getting tired of, kids shooting themselves. We hear about it all the time. So tell us a little bit about that journey of writing a children's book with such a, let's say, tough subject.
It was, it was kind of fun. It was just it's a story about three kids, and it can happen to any kid on their way to school. They find a gun, and they just kind of pick it up and kind of handle it. And they get to school, and they tell that hey, we saw a gun, and the police officer comes, and the police officer brings Brownie Bear, and Brownie Bear tells them, you shouldn't pick up guns and don't point guns at people. And, this is what happens when, you pull the trigger, excuse me, those type things. So, it's kind of my nephew and I kind of illustrated it together.
Oh, cool.
So it was pretty special. Yeah.
That's really cool. So age range that you would think, parents that are out there watching that want to get your book, what is the age range to introduce that book?
The thing I like about this book is this. Surprisingly, a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old can fire a firearm. And I've seen those stories where, infants and toddlers alike have fired weapons, shooting themselves or others. And so what I say about this book is that even a parent can read this book to their child. So I don't think there is a minimum age, and I don't think there's a maximum age. I had a doctor, I think his son was, 7, and he said he just kept reading it. I think the information, I think is like you said, relative information, and it's good information for any age group.
So where would you like this book position that you would feel its first big pack of impact? We know that if parents were to buy it and kind of read it to their kids and have it on their shelf, but if we were kind of to back it up into community, what say areas in the community should have this book on thea shelf?
Any community. Community. I think the book itself, when you talk about firearms, especially here in the United States, it's a very polarizing subject. And so you have people who don't believe in firearms, who would say, I would never buy that book. I would never want my kid to use that book. But, they may go to a friend's house and spend the night where that friend's parents believes in guns, and they got them all over the place. And so if that parent has not exposed that child to what firearms are and the harm that they cause, that can be a situation, just that curiosity. I'll say this, I do community events. And so at my events, when I sell my books, I put 2 blue guns on the table. And so it is amazing. The kids that come by and they don't touch the gun, I give them a prize. But it's
Oh,
amazing how many kids will pick that firearm up and turn it right towards their face. And that's what happens in real life. And parents don't realize it because, oh, my kid's 2 years old. They're not going to do that. They can't pull a trigger. I can barely pull a trigger. But somehow these kids do it. They turn it right towards themselves and they pull that trigger. And, or they're playing with someone, another kid, and they, pointed at them and pull the trigger. And so like I said, the motivation for the book was to just have parents to teach their kids that this is what happens when you point a gun at somebody, and encourage gun locks.
wow. Do you happen to have a copy of your book there? Close?
I didn't, let me see.
I love all your books behind you, by the way. You're a woman after my own heart.
I've read at all of them.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, you've got Brownie Bear there, which is he's so cute. He's so cute.
I can't believe I don't have that book. But...
That's okay. That means they're out there in the hands of who needs to be reading them.
Right. I thought I did. Oh wait, yes I do.
Oh, yay! Let's see the front cover. Brownie the Bear teaches gun safety. So if we can turn it around. Okay, can you read off the back of the book, please? I love doing that with authors.
It says, follow Robert, Heather, and Juan on their adventure as they locate a firearm and work through problem-solving processes to determine what to do with the firearm. The children are introduced to Brownie Bear, who provides instruction on gun safety. This book is a tool that can be used by parents to enhance the discussion about gun safety to deter accidental shootings by children. And at the end, the very last page has these tips for parents who have firearms. And so, like I said, it's just a story about 3 kids, and those 3 kids can be any 3 kids.
Right.
You could find a gun in a home, you could find a gun in the woods, you could find, a gun anywhere. So.
You know what? And I think even for adults too, because you never know when you do find a gun, you think, oh, maybe I'll keep it. And it's like, right. No, it's succession or intelligence says, get rid of it, get it into the hands of somebody who can make sure it's disposed of properly, or who knows, it's been used in a crime somewhere, and it needs to be attached to a crime to make somebody, justice for, somebody who either it got used on and or got used in a criminal situation. So the $64,000 question, now I'm aging myself. So Brigitte, is there another book in you?
Yes. I'm working on one. I'm working on one right now, which is about a female detective. Mm-hmm. And so far, she, she's just kind of finding her way through law enforcement, the career field. So it's kind of a concept in my head, but it's coming.
Fiction or nonfiction?
Definitely fiction.
Oh,
yeah, definitely fiction.
I love that. I love reading books from a female's perspective of how they go about their life in solving crime, and because we're a little bit different animal out there. We're about the touchy feelies and the warm and squishies, but I'm telling you, much like any bear, if we use the bear reference of a mama bear protects their baby bears really, really tight. So I may be protecting the world out there, but don't cross me this line over here. So that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing with me today. I know it's 9 o'clock your time, and it's about time for you to kind of wind down. It's about closing on 6:30 here for me on the west coast of Canada. At this time, we'd like to give out a huge shout out to Lachelle Aikens, America's Supermom, for connecting us up, and her understanding that I truly do love books, guys. I was just I know you have Value Village, I think, where you guys are. And I went in and I picked up 5 books yesterday,
Okay.
out and about. And it's like, oh, I lost, because I think they do buy 4, you get the 5th one for free. So it's like I stopped myself at 5.
Okay.
I just love books and being the steward of other people's stories. Well, whether it's in the written form or we share it like this, sharing our time together and sharing the methodologies. So, any last words about writing books, or what you would like to say to?
I just like to say that anybody can write a book. Just start. The hardest part is to start. Just start.
There you go. That's a perfect, succinct, to the point way to approach it. So again, thank you so much, Brigitte, for sharing your time. I'll be back again next Tuesday night with another author. I can't remember who is on, but we do have authors, or I do have authors booked until August now. So if you're watching this and you know of an author that would appreciate a little sit down, I'm in my home kitchen here. And Brigitte's in her office there in her home in Atlanta, Georgia, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, Atlanta, Georgia. And this is what we can do. We can create stories together and make sure people are honored for their stories. So thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy your night. Grab a good book, grab a cup of tea, snuggle in, because you know what? It is so worth it when you take time to read books. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.